Brought to you by great listeners just like yourself. Hop on over to our Patreon page. It's over at patreon.com /baseball talk. You can sign up for just $1 a month to sponsor our show. It'll help our costs defrayed a little bit for the show. And we appreciate you stopping by. That's Patreon, the place to support the arts. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show with Rich and Gary. How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing good, Rich, and it's good to be back with you again. Just got back from a short little vacation and had a great time and ready to get back into talking baseball.
Yes, you are, and looking very spiffy there in your new screencast that you're displaying on the YouTube version of our show. If anybody would like to check out the YouTube version, just go over there and spell in the Baseball Talk Radio Show, and you'll probably find our show. But yeah, Gary, you're looking sharp there. You got a nice background, the Baseball Talk Radio Show background. You got your Baseball Hall of Fame hat on. You had a wonderful week and a great visit.
Yes, we did, Rich, and it's a terrific place to go to. Everybody should go there. The people are so nice. Go early when it's slow. Go off season. Don't wait if you can. Don't wait until June, July, August, September to Madhouse then, especially induction weekend. But if you go in the fall, it's beautiful there. You go in now in the spring, the weather was terrific. We had one rainy day and a kind of a dismal day, but the other 2 days were just gorgeous. We were walking around in t-shirts, or a light jacket and everything. So really had a wonderful, wonderful time there. And great food at the Doubleday Cafe and Mel's, and didn't make it to the Cooperstown Diner. Everybody wanted me to go to Cooperstown Diner. Did not make it there. Didn't have the time, but had a wonderful time. We get some pictures whenever we want to show some pictures from the big day, the big week, I should say.
Yeah, you really had a great time there. I saw some of the pictures before we're doing the show here, and it kind of reminded me of about 7 or 8 years ago when I was there. Not too much has changed there in sleepy little Cooperstown.
No, not too much, Rich, but just a wonderful place. And it was a long time for me. It's been actually over 50 years since I was there. So to me, it was a drastic change because half of the Hall of Fame wasn't like it is now. Just amazing. And as I said, the people, even in the Hall of Fame, the people were so nice and so accommodating and so helpful and friendly. It's just we're not used to that where we live. So you come back down and down here, and everybody's yelling at one another and screaming, and I'm ready to sell a house and look for real estate.
That's an awesome time. I'm glad you had a great time up there. Well, let's take a little tour. If you're watching the YouTube version, obviously you're going to see the pictures. If you listen to the podcast, of course, we got a ton of podcast listeners. We hope you enjoy Gary's narration of his trip there. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, Rich. Well, we're going to start out. We got there late on Monday night. Whoops, something happened there. Let's line this back up again. How am I still there?
We always have those glitches in our
little glitch here.
Video presentations.
Let's see now.
It's not easy to do this, as
it is not, and I hope that you'll bear with me here. I've got it going over there, but the show is running and I can't stop it. So
pick it up right from there then.
I just didn't have the time to do this, and I'm trying to do it on the fly, and it's not exactly working out the way I wanted to do it.
It looks like a nice time was had by all there. How about some of those nice photos?
Just give me a minute here, Rich, if you want to fill in for me a little here.
All right, I'm looking at some old uniforms. Of course, the Phillies, the Cincinnati Reds there. And of course, there's the Hall of Fame at night under lights.
There's the gallery, the entrance to the gallery, and of course, going there. I'm a Met fan actually, so we went, and there's George Thomas Seaver, his plaque there at the Hall of Fame, and there's one for you, Rich, Michael Jack Schmidt, and
That's
another one for you, Steve Carlton.
wow. I like Michael Jack. He looks like himself, but not Carlton.
Yes, Carlton was a little off, and here's Mike Piazza, of course, one of the latest inductees into the Hall of Fame, last year's class, with Ken Griffey Jr.
Piazza looks a little devilish there.
Yeah, but close up, it does look like him, so that's one good thing. And there's the first class. 1936, of course, was the first class that went into the Hall of Fame. 5 men: Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Honus Wagner, Christy Mathewson, and of course the Babe. And they have their own special section. And there's these huge statues carved of Babe Ruth and Ted Williams in the hall, and it's just magnificent to look at. They're so realistic; it's really incredible.
They almost look lifelike there, almost like Madame Tussauds. There's the Fanatic.
There's the Fanatic, Rich. Another one I took for you, and talk about lifelike. That's really, they took I guess the costume and stuffed it, and they got a new one, I guess. I hope so, because it gets hot in there, they say so.
The most sued mascot ever right there.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, God.
And there's a turnstile from the old Polo Grounds in New York. And this is an interesting piece. Can you guess what this is, Rich?
I would say possibly a home run type of device. When a home run was hit, maybe that lit up and spun around, possibly.
It is. You're exactly right. It's part of Comiskey Park and Bill Veck's exploding scoreboard. And these things, when the White Sox hit a home run, they would twirl around, and they had smoke going up behind them, and the lights were on, and it was like a whirly gig almost, going crazy there. They have that there, and the left, the with the 440 on it, that's actually part of the wall from Comiskey Park. I'm sorry, from Tiger Stadium. When they left to go to Comerica Park, they saved the part of the wall for the Hall of Fame. And there's Lou Gehrig's uniform, and this is an interesting piece. It's Cy Young, one of the uniforms that he wore in, I don't know what year it was. And they also have the ball that he won his 500th game with. That's 500th.
Wow.
That's the ball there. Cy Young gave the Hall of Fame. He was quite, really, he was one of the first stars to support the Hall of Fame and give them some of the memorabilia that he had that really helped build what we see today. So Cy Young was in early on that. And that's our on deck Pirates, the on deck circle. From Three Rivers, and let's see, that's an old ticket booth from the old Yankee Stadium. And they have all the teams now, modern day, with the uniforms and the locker rooms. There's a whole row of them set up. So just snapped a couple here. There's of course the Mets, Rich. I had to take the Mets. And then there's your Phillies. Took one for you too. Didn't want to leave you out, Rich. So we have the Phillies locker too, from up there that they're showing now.
And they change those out from time to time, I believe.
I think what they do is they change some of the stuff that's in there. Yeah, they'll move new stuff out, move stuff in. Maybe if somebody does something, they can move in, like a pair of spikes or something like that. They'll change it around. But it's an interesting display that they have. And here's just some of the old equipment, an old catcher's mask, and look at that glove, Rich. Can you imagine how they used to now they're so big and like first baseman's glove, and look at that thing that they catcher used to have to catchable. Imagine trying to catch Nolan Ryan with a glove like that.
That glove actually looks like a pillow, and Cy Young's glove looked like an oven mitt.
Yeah. And Hannes Wagner's glove too. But I have something else here that's going to come up. There's speaking of Hannes Wagner, that was his locker and his uniform, because this is the iconic the Babe Ruth. That's his the way they have this set up is pretty interesting. The picture is on the wall, and then they actually have a the uniform that he wore that day on Babe Ruth Day in a glass case on a body double. But when you look at it, you look at the picture, it looks like it's the whole one thing, but it's two separate things. But that was an interesting thing. The Babe, it was an interesting character, of course, and really was, to my mind, probably the greatest player of all time. I mean, it's hard to me, it's not hard to argue because of all that he really created for the game in a time. He came in after the White Sox scandal, the Black Sox scandal, and really helped save the game of baseball. So and look at the numbers. I mean, lifetime batting average of 357, I think it was, the home runs and everything. So Babe Ruth's always been the king, and even though he played for the Yankees, nobody's perfect. So,
how different he was back in the day compared to some of the athletes today, with all the training, all the weight training, the emphasis on staying healthy. These were guys that drank beer and didn't do anything out of the extraordinary, so to speak, to get ready for a season. They just went out and played baseball.
That's right, and got in baseball shape, and they weren't all looking like Adonises and pulling hamstrings and everything else. And if they did, they threw some liniment on it, rubbed some dirt in it, and went out and played again. So, but it was a different time, Rich. The salary wasn't there, and even though it's funny, and they have this on the wall. I didn't get a picture of it, but there's a quote by Miller Huggins in a book where he said that, and I'm paraphrasing, but these guys don't play. When I played ball, we played for the love of the game. Now all they're doing is playing for money, and that the quote was something in that range. And what's interesting about that is I first saw that, and it didn't say who said it. And you're thinking, oh, it could be somebody from the 60s or the 70s, the 80s, 90s. No, it was Miller Huggin in like 1923 said that. So there's always been that feeling that it's been played for money and not for the love of it. But it seems like the games change and times change, but that idea seems to still be in effect. And this is an interesting piece. This is for Hannes Wagner had this, and those are actually there's flip down sunglasses under the brim, and they put nuts or something or rivets on top to hold them to the brim, and I had never seen anything like that before. So
Very
I
cool.
thought that was pretty fascinating that they came up with that stuff years and years and years ago.
And that's a Pittsburgh Pirates cap. If you're listening along to the podcast, excellent device there. It looks like it's shimmed up underneath the bill of the cap, a sunglass setup. So I haven't seen that lately. Those Oakleys are in vogue right now.
Yeah, yeah. And we got the shoes from Mordecai Three Finger Brown. Whoops, Mordecai Brown and Christy Mathewson locked up a number of times in the career, and I believe these were the shoes that Mordecai Brown wore a number of years. Of course, nowadays they have 14 pairs of shoes. You know, in those days they'd wear a shoe a season, maybe even two. Who knows? But that was a pair of shoes that Mordecai Brown, Three Finger Brown, wore against the great Christy Mathewson and other players of that time. And just a random picture of me here at a wall that had an old-fashioned ball game today sign that looked pretty good. And we also visited the Wax Museum, Rich. I don't know if you got there in your last trip. Interesting place to go to. And this was the Mickey Mantle display. And this was interesting. This is called the Georges. And it's really based on Seinfeld, and it's the back of supposedly George Steinbrenner, and George Costanza is facing you. So that was kind of interesting from the old Seinfeld show that they had a display there. That's Wade Boggs riding a horse after the Yankees won the World Series that he was in. And Joe Torre and Don Zimmer, they had in this dugout set up and I thought it was pretty cool the way they set that up. So I thought I'd include that.
Very cool.
And there's Ty Cobb, and interesting, they have Ty Cobb's on the wall, actually.
Climbing the walls of the whole.
And they got him sliding into a base, and that was pretty neat the way they got him positioned on the wall there. And then they have this display of Judge Landis and shoeless Joe Jackson, and of course the Babe. And interesting, all those little spots you see on the ground are coins, and people throw money, I guess, to support the museum. Besides paying a fee to get in, they throw money in there. And the Babe, of course, looks like he had the biggest amount. Still a big favorite. And, of course, there's Lou Gehrig giving his goodbye speech. Greg Maddux pitching, Hall of Fame. And, of course, the great Roberto Clemente, another Pirate there. They had a nice display on him there. Jackie Robinson, the famous picture of him coming in to Brooklyn to break the color barrier. And again, a nice display there of him. Catfish Hunter. And of course, you got to have Abbott and Costello doing Who's on First, don't you, Rich?
Absolutely.
And of course, we hit Doubleday Field, which is really a kind of a must-see if you're going to Doubleday, if you're going to Cooperstown. Now, this store, obviously, I didn't take this picture because there was no snow on the ground. But this is one of the first souvenir stores in Cooperstown. And the last time that I went there, I said to my wife, I says, when we first went, I was a kid. And when we went there, we stayed at this store. There was a motel above a store. And I said, the store is a couple of doors away from the Hall of Fame. And, we stayed above it. They had they rented rooms above the store. And so when we went there, we were driving by, and we went in we got there Monday, and we got there late, and we went into town. Everything closes now at 5:00. There's a couple of places open, a couple of bars and restaurants open later, but all the stores shut down at 5:00. So at 9:00 at night, it was dead. Which was great because
old Western town.
Yeah, it was nothing, We saw one person walking a dog or something. But we had a very lovely meal at the Doubleday Cafe, and I did not get a picture, and I did not get a picture of this store. But it's the F.R. Woods souvenir store. It was one of the first ones in Cooperstown. And I said to Michelle as we drove by, we were driving by to go to the hall, and I hit the brakes, and I said, "That's the store." And I said, we stayed up above. And what else I remember was they had these old rickety wood floors in there. And there was an old lady behind the counter. And in those days, you couldn't get the hats like you got now, you know, the official hats. But they did have them in Cooperstown. And she had them. And they were leather sweatbands inside. And, you know, the fit was not always exactly right. She would, if you went there and bought a hat, she would actually fit them to your head. She'd like do what she had to do, take a size bigger, maybe fit, you know, cut the leather and sew it. She had the sewing machine, and I remembered this. And about 20 years later, a friend of mine went up there, and she was still there and bought the hat. So the next day we went in there. There were wooden floors. And I said you walked in, and then there was a doorway a little bit in that went to the store next door. They had like 2 stores. And sure enough, that was the same.
Pretty neat.
And it just brought back so many memories of that place. And we got to talking to the girl that was behind the counter. And she said a lot of people come back, they remember the store. And I said, and I remember a lady that would fit the hats, and she goes, yes, that was my grandmother.
Wow.
So the store is still, the grandmother unfortunately has passed away, but the store is still in the family. They've been there God knows how many years. I forgot what she said. She had a picture of her grandmother, and she goes, yeah, she used to size the hats and cut, you know, and she would also sew in those days. She would put because they couldn't get the team jackets, they weren't made, but you could buy jackets in the colors, and you can buy like the satin jackets and stuff that they used to wear a lot. And she would get like the twill. It was usually a felt or a twill, the logo or whatever, and she would sew them on for people. And she says people come back to this day and say, I've had this jacket for 40 years and it doesn't fit anymore, but I still have the jacket that your grandmother made for me. So, and we asked about the motel. They still rent out the motel. And it was just an amazing thing. And it's 2 doors from the Hall of Fame. Actually, 1 door. There's the Hall of Fame, and then there's the general store, and then there's FR Woods. So that is my story. And I forgot to take a picture of the place. I had to go online and grab a picture, but it was just, for me, it was a very sentimental visit there, as well as being a baseball visit. And it was just terrific. And like I said, we had a great time, and the wife enjoyed it. And I have one other little video clip I'd like to play, if you don't mind.
No.
And there's an interesting thing when these guys get elected to the Hall of Fame, and you know, they all go up at different times, and they get guided tours of the hall, and they take stuff out of memorabilia that they may have contributed, so they get to see it again, or you know, if they get to see other people's memorabilia. And then they go to where their plaques will be, and they actually sign underneath. So I took a little video. My narration's a little off, so that's why I'm kind of trying to set it up now. But you'll see these are the signatures of some of the inductees. Bud Selig has not been up there yet. So you'll see John Sherholtz, Tim Raines, Jeff Bagwell, and Pudge Rodriguez in this little video clip.
Part of the autographs of the incoming members of the Hall of Fame that will be inducted in July of 2017.
please?
You can see right there.
Now, what did I tell you to do? Look on the back and see the year. Did I say that?
And of course, there was a tour going on, so that's the noise you hear in the background. But Rich, I don't have to tell you, it is a wonderful place. And I had something else that I wanted to show, and I did not bring it out with me. But and I don't have a picture because my wife took it's on her phone. But there's a great place called the Cooperstown Bat Company, and they will personalize bats and things like that. It's just terrific. They're very nice people. I had something created, and it came out terrific. So go there too, and but you got to go to the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is great. We met somebody that goes. This is his 21st year. He goes every year, goes back and back to the Hall of Fame. So, and he knows everybody. So, but it's a great little town. But I do recommend going during the week if you can, and when off season, because you can take your time and enjoy it. And it's just we had such a great time, and it's such a beautiful area too. The lake, we stayed at a place called Lake and Pines, which was about 7 miles out of town, and it was terrific, beautiful, had a nice view of the lake, just wonderful, Rich.
Yeah, it's an awesome time that you had there, and you brought me back when you were talking about the hats. Just in the 70s and the early 80s, some of the baseball hats were so terrible. They were just
Mhm.
cheaply made. I remember that they weren't like today, that's for sure. Hattery has taken on a new a quality to it in the last few years, and that's a good thing. As with the jerseys and other T-shirts and things like that. Just a few short years ago, it was next to impossible to get a quality baseball product.
Yeah, well, because they didn't license the stuff like they do now, and as soon as they started licensing it, then they had quality control, and then they could do what they want, and my goodness, it's on everything. I mean, you can find. Look, I have a bad knee. People know that, and if you follow me on Facebook, you've probably seen this entire journey. Rich has probably seen a lot of these photos already, because Rich, you probably went through the entire trip with me on Facebook. But I have a bad knee, and I use a cane from time to time if I'm going to do a lot of walking. And guess what I found? A New York Mets cane there. So I had to pick that baby up. So I got a new cane out of the deal with the Mets logo on it, though they're not playing too well at all this year, Rich. But that's another story. But, I don't have to tell you, Rich, it is a great experience. And I think any baseball fan, if you love the game, you have to go to Cooperstown. It is like a pilgrimage to the mecca of baseball, and it doesn't matter whether the whole Abner Doubleday story was a farce or what. They made baseball their home, and I'll tell you, it was a very smart thing that Mr. Clark, Stephen Clark, did, and really, it's a baseball town, and the buildings, the stores look like they're from the 20s or the 30s or the 50s or whatever. But it's just fantastic. And again, the people are warm and friendly. And now, like I said, I don't know how in the middle of summer when they start getting all the crowds if they're if they're as friendly, but we couldn't have met more nicer people than up there. And as I said, we had one little problem, but other than that, it was really a fantastic week.
And as you said, just a ton of memorabilia available up there. And you have to be careful. Like you said, you picked up a few items. you can go absolutely crazy up there with different things that they have. They have different signed jerseys. They have just anything you can think of in memorabilia. And you turn around, oh, I'd like to have that. You turn this way, oh man, that would go great in this room, but it's a very, like you said, it's a shrine to the baseball fan. Every store you go into, every person you meet, and they're very friendly. There, a lot of the employees of the Baseball Hall of Fame are volunteers, and the Baseball Hall itself is not funded by Major League Baseball, and that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a completely separate entity, and we're always talking about Pete Rose going into the Hall of Fame. Now, technically, they could put him in if the writers put him in, but they abide by the rules of with the MLB, and anybody that's banned, they will not let in, or they, I guess if the writers voted him in, they would not induct him because he is still on the ban list, but it is such a wonderful thing. And I was talking to somebody there and asked them about the Cubs situation, because they have not really received anything from the Cubs this year for winning the World Series, and they say it's about to resolve itself, that they do have some stuff that's about to come, and they will set it up. But I found it very interesting, and they still had the setup from the Mets and Kansas City World Series up there. So a little disturbing that the Cubs would be so slow in getting stuff to the Hall of Fame, but who knows? You get some success, and maybe it goes a little bit to your head, and you don't think about the Hall of Fame as much. But yeah, this when you think about the amount of stuff, and it's crazy. They got some crazy stuff too. I mean, it's they've got tons of stuff that isn't on display. It's in the library and in their vault that they'll rotate in and out and stuff. But they've got stuff like a shotgun from Rube Waddell, left-handed pitcher that he got 1 year from the team, like for being their most valuable player. They've got a machete that Ban Johnson, who was the president of the American Association, then the American League, I believe. He had, just crazy stuff, flasks, all kinds of things that you wouldn't imagine, but that are connected to baseball in some way. And it's just I would love to get into the vault. That's what I would love to.
Yep. Keys to the vault.
Yes, and see some of that wild stuff down there, or but maybe sometime, maybe we'll be able to work something out with them. But just a fascinating thing, and my thanks to everybody there, and had a nice chat with Craig Muter, who is the director of communications for the Hall of Fame. So very nice guy that works up there, and they're all very nice, and really a terrific. Even the women in the museum shop were very helpful, and just fantastic, and just the whole thing was great. So if you go, you got to here's your checklist. You got to go to Doubleday Field, of course. You got to go to the hall and the museum and the library. You got to grab something to eat at Doubleday Cafe and the Cooperstown Diner. And Mel's at 22 is another good place to eat. And there are other fine restaurants there to check out. These are the ones that I ate at and checked at, and would recommend to anybody. And let's see, check out the Wax Museum. Definitely check out the Cooperstown Bat Company. There's another bat company that you can check out as well, where it all began, Bat Company. There are a bunch of stores, like Rich was saying, with the collectibles. I didn't hit too many of those because I'm not I'm not a collectible, guy. Some stuff I'll collect, but I'm more of a souvenir guy, if that makes sense. Give me my hat and that kind of stuff, and a keychain or something like that. But there are tons of those kinds of stores. There's a Mickey's, a Shoeless Joe's. Can't think of all the other one. Pioneer Sports Cards, I believe, is another one. But you'll see they're all on Main Street. If you get there, and there's even a CVS right in the middle of town, so you can't go wrong if you forgot to pack something. You can go to CVS and they have everything. But it was terrific, Rich. And if you tend to venture a little bit out of the town a little bit, there's a great cider mill at the Fly Creek Cider Mill, which was in Fly Creek, New York, which it wasn't that far. It's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, there's something there, but great cider and lots of free samples of food. So we ate our way around the store. So, and you can actually see the cider mill working and things like that. It's great. And if you go, I would imagine on a weekend it's a little bit more hopping than it was when we were there. But there's some things for the kids to do too. So another great attraction to go to. And did I leave anything out? I'm sure I left something out. There's a farmer's museum that we did not get to see, but we drove by it. But that's there. And there's a Fenimore Museum, which is another great place to go to. And we drove by the Otsego, I think that's how you say it, the hotel. And that's where a lot of the Hall of Famers stay when they come up for induction weekend. So we drove through there to take a look at that. Right. My wife took the pictures on that.
Sounds like a great time. And I'll throw this one out there. And this one you told me, Gary, if you're going to be there for a couple days, you might want to write in advance and go on their website at baseballhall.org and pick up a membership, either a family membership or an individual if you're going by yourself. I think that allows you to go into the hall multiple times, and you won't have to pay the admission each time. But that's an important tip as well.
Well, and here's something else, Rich. You can get it right at right there.
Okay, so you don't even have to worry about in advance, so to speak.
I did not know until after we actually bought tickets at our hotel and got them cheaper than at the hall. And when we were in the museum store, they asked us if we remember. We said no, and they asked us if we wanted to join, and I said okay. So we joined, and you get 10% off of your purchases, which was nice. And they actually gave me back the price of one ticket because we only did an individual. And you can go back as many times in 1 year if you want. And you just show the card and you'll get in for nothing. So it's a 1 year thing, but you can go. If you get an individual membership, it's for one person. They have family, have all kinds of different kinds. So, yeah, and it's well worth it. You get a member pin, little pin, and you get a sticker for the car, and you get a monthly magazine. I think it is. It's on the website. And you'll get a yearbook of this year's yearbook, which has got the inductees in it and all the information about them. So pretty interesting stuff. And that's the way to go. And as you said, Rich, if you're going to be there a few days and go a couple of times, do the membership deal.
Yes, indeed. And here's something for the person who has just about everything, I guess you could say, Gary. If you're watching the video screen there, the lifetime membership A lifetime connection to Cooperstown and baseball history. $1,939 is going to get you lifetime membership, which includes an exclusive engraved gold lifetime membership card. It's in lieu of an annual membership card. So that's probably got to be a real wallop there. I'd love to know what you get for that. And God, if we ever interview that person from the hall, I'd love to ask them about that option.
Yeah, you probably get you get the lifetime membership. You get the what is that, gold card, whatever, and you get probably they give you a T-shirt or something. I don't know.
I would think maybe you'd go to dinner there, possibly.
I have it's interesting because they'll ask you what your favorite team is and your favorite player, and I don't know what to ask you about your player, but there's my membership card.
Very cool.
To the Hall of Fame individual. So we actually may try to go back again in the fall, so I'll be able to use this again. But believe me, I used it twice in the gift shop because we actually did go back again. It was some stuff we forgot to get, and we went back a second day, and we just went into the gift shop. And they said, you remember? And I could whip out my card and show them my card, and they could scan it. And that was pretty neat the second day. But they do it all right there. So not to worry, because it says online, it takes like 4 to 6 weeks or something to process. They'll do it right there, and they'll even tell you to stop by the desk on the way out, and we'll have your bag of your membership bag, or with the stuff that you get,
Your swag, your Hall of Fame swag.
Yes, so they will do it right there, and that's a great point to know, because it's well worth it. It really is, especially like us. We bought a lot of stuff. It is. You go on vacation and you start seeing this stuff, and we bought some stuff for friends and things. So, getting the 10% off is a nice deal. And as I said, or like you said before, if you're going to go back there again, you just show the card and you're back in. So it worked out nice.
Very nice. Well, let's take a break in the podcast here. We'll come back after these words in the show, and we'll talk a little bit about what we've seen so far in the first month of the season. It's coming to a quick close here at the end of April. We'll be back in a second. We want to thank all of our listeners for listening to the Baseball Talk Radio Show. To get in contact with us is easy. You can reach me at rich@baseballtalkradio.com, or you can reach Gary at gary@baseballtalkradio.com. You can send us an email or a voicemail. We'd be glad to get it on the program. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Go to our website, mlbthisweek.com, and you can find the links to those areas. On Twitter, we're at MLB This Week. So give us a follow there, and you'll get the latest updates and news from this podcast on when we're doing our shows and our opinions in the world of baseball.
And Rich, I'd like to tell the people that they can hear this show as well as your show, Phillies Talk, and my show, Mets Musings, on the baseballtalkradio.com website. And you can listen to over 30 podcasts about baseball, the game. A lot of them cover individual teams, and but everything's covered there. There's a fantasy sports, a fantasy baseball site. It's a Japanese baseball site. The Baseball PhD was an interesting character. He's there, and he's on there, and just everything you want about baseball is at baseballtalkradio.com. the home of great baseball talk shows.
Yes, sir, Gary. Just check it out, baseballtalkradio.com. More shows being added every day, so check it out, baseballtalkradio.com. We're back on the Baseball Talk Radio Show, talking all about baseball, of course. And Gary, a couple stories big in the news last couple days anyway. ESPN clearing out a ton of baseball writers, pundits, announcers, things like that. ESPN cleaning house, so to speak. Put a lot of veteran writers out to pasture. Jason Stark being one of them.
Wow.
A ton of other writers, and if you go up on their website now, you don't really see too much. You see some articles about specific games and all, but not the big brouhaha that they used to offer you on that website. They used to have different columns where you could sign up for their ESPN Insider and things like that, and allow yourself into their inner sanctum of articles and things, but no longer. It looks like ESPN is sort of cleaning house, rearranging the ship, so to speak, as far as sports, not only baseball, but a ton of other sports as well.
Well, Rich, I think they're in trouble. They spent so much money, I think, on these major league contracts and the NFL and Major League Baseball that I don't think they're getting the money back that they thought they would be. And I saw the headlines. I didn't see some of the people that are going. Shocked Jason Stark going is one. Just incredible. And are they not owned by Disney still?
They are one of the biggest entertainment companies in the country, but doesn't seem to matter. They're not going to fund ESPN, so to speak. And as you said, Gary, they must be in a little trouble, or they want to clean the board out and start fresh. Maybe they weren't making a whole lot of money, like you said. They're still obviously probably turning a profit, but a lot of these guys have been with them for many years. They start to accumulate a lot of salary, and they probably just thought it was time maybe to have a fresh start. So ESPN trying to reinvent itself. And, you know, even these local cable companies that have bid on baseball viewing contracts, I wonder if coming down the road you may see some trouble with that, because, you know, some of these figures were astronomical that they were forking over to these ball clubs. You know, $1 billion, $2 billion. That's a lot of money. And maybe it seemed like a good thing at the time, but now these companies are probably scratching their head and saying, what did we do?
Yeah, I still think there's probably money to be made. You know, ESPN, don't forget, they got hurt a lot by all of these leagues. You know, 10, 15 years ago, they were the only game in town. So you went there for all your highlights and, you know, all of that sort of thing. Now you have the teams starting their own networks. You have MLB Network. You have the NFL Network. You have NHL Network. You have NBA Network. And a lot of that stuff you can see there. And if you've got it, if you're a baseball fan and you're going to have MLB Network, you're not going to tune in the Sports Center because maybe you don't want to hear all about the basketball playoffs. And I think they hurt themselves a lot. It appears sometimes that they're very football centric. And I think that kind of takes away from other fans of other sports. I know on the radio, sometimes I'll listen to Mike and Mike in the morning on my way to work, but very football centric and now basketball centric, and you barely get a word in about baseball. and it's kind of a turnoff sometimes. So that could hurt them too. Could have been some mismanagement. Who knows? I know some of their on-air talent, though. To me, especially the baseball, calling the baseball games are just plain horrible. In my estimation, their Sunday night crew I don't like at all, and their weekly crew. Salvatore, I can't remember the guy's name. He's okay. But that Dallas Braden, I think it is, he's, terrible. And with that beard and that man bun looks ridiculous. But they're just not putting together good crews. I think they're not getting the I think they're getting the B guys now, MLB is getting the A-list guys and they're getting the B and the C-list guys, I think. And that could be hurting them as well. So, but like you say, it's just, they have people there a long time, and to see these people go but a lot of them have other jobs with newspapers or whatnot. So I think they'll be okay, or I'm sure somebody else will pick them up. There's still Fox Sports New York. There's still MLB. So I don't think the top names that were let go will be starving.
No, that's for sure. And as you said, it's such it's a market that's covered well. I myself got an email from the MILB just earlier today, and what it offered me, because I'm a subscriber to the MLB.TV package, it offered me the whole season of minor league baseball for half price. So of course I had to chip in for that.
Oh, you'll enjoy it though.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it. Check it out. The minor league games are really pretty neat, so you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, so it's 5,500 games, it said, all season. All 30 MLB clubs, of course, and complete game archives available anytime on demand. So I'll be watching baseball from morning till night, and then sometimes overnight I'll be watching baseball, even the replays. So it's a great thing. Some of the stars that go down to the minor leagues, and you might want to scout some of your favorite minor league players that are coming up to the big clubs. It's a no-brainer. It's normally only $50 a year, and I got it for half price. So
they didn't give me that offer.
Great deal, just probably for this year. But hey, they got me as a customer. That's their goal. And ESPN, unfortunately, didn't reinvent itself like that, and maybe they're just sort of clearing the decks, so to speak, and trying to get on an even keel.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle, though, I think, because, Fox Sports spent a lot of money, brought in talent and stuff. And again, you got MLB, and how do you compete against them? I mean, they've got, I'm not crazy about all the guys they've got, but, they hire these guys, and they got the whole backing of the league and everything else. So, but we'll see.
Maybe they should bring the MLB This Week / the Baseball Talk radio show over to ESPN. I think we'll attract a crowd.
Now that could be a good choice for them.
Yeah, we're reasonable too.
Are you listening, Bristol?
Well, speaking of Bristol, let's go over the power rankings. We won't go over the standings tonight because we've run a little long with the show, but the power rankings are in for another week here. And it's the Houston Astros remaining in the top spot. Last week, they were number 1 as well. And one of the top clubs in the league has moved into second place, the Washington Nationals. Week 2 ranking, they were at number 5. So they're up to number 2 now. And some people even had them as their number 1 team in the power rankings last week. The Baltimore Orioles still playing very well. They're beating the Yankees 9-1 as of the time we're doing this podcast. So they're doing quite well, and unexpectedly, I might add. And the Cubs have suddenly found the common ground. They're on the winning side now. Week 2, they ranked them at number 2. I guess I don't know how they could do that. They weren't that great. Probably a favorite, obviously, but they're number 4 this week. And rounding out the top 5, Gary, another surprise to me, but they're playing pretty well, the New York Yankees.
Yeah, the Yankees are really a surprise team. They're hitting though. They've been they've been playing pretty good. So now, of course, my Mets haven't won a game since in a week. I don't know what's going on there. And congratulations to your Phillies, Rich. They're right in the pennant race there, 11-9.
Well, I don't know if we'd say a pennant race, but they're above 500 for the first time in a very, very long time.
Well, that's good.
Yes, it is. That's a positive thing. But yeah, it's going to be a great season. We're just into the first month of it. As Gary said, his Mets aren't doing too great right now, but things can turn around. And we hope you enjoyed this show and Gary's trip to the Hall of Fame. He had a wonderful conversation with the media department there, and we hope to get that gentleman on a future show. And next week we have an even better show for you lined up. Gary, you want to give a little teaser to it?
Well, next week, Rich, we're going to have an author on by the name of Paul Dixon, and he wrote a great book on Leo Durocher, Hall of Famer Leo Durocher, the manager of the Giants and the Cubs and the Brooklyn Dodgers. And he will be live with us on a very special and exciting episode of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. So please be sure to tune that in, because I think you're going to enjoy that. Leo the Lip was a very colorful guy, and his career took in such a vast array of players that you're going to want to hear us talk about it with this great author. And it's really a terrific book. I have it right here. If you want, I recommend picking it up, and that way you can follow right through the show with us. You can follow up, but it's Paul Dixon, Leo Durocher, Baseball's Prodigal Son. Pick it up at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anything like that. Yeah, anywhere. It's a great book, and you'll enjoy it. So if you're a baseball fan and historian of baseball, you'll love the book.
Yep, very good. So I can't wait for that show, Gary. I've long wanted to know more about Leo Durocher, so we will talk about him next week on the podcast. So glad you're home. You had a great time. You had a wonderful trip to the Hall of Fame, and I can't wait for next week's show.
Me either, Rich, and thank you so much for that. And we had a great time.
We'll talk to you all again on the next edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Take care, everyone.